Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our Operate From Anywhere webinar. My name is Craig Walden. I'm the Marketing Director here at Opus, and I'm joined today by a number of speakers. We've got Chris Angus from 8x8 and colleagues Matt, Ben and Julia, who will be helping with field any questions that come up later on. After a brief welcome from me, we'll switch over to Ben, who will spend a minute talking about our relationship with 8x8. And then we've got a short video from Graham Kedsley from 8x8, talking about the 8x8 relationship with Opus from their point of view. Then we've got the main event from Chris and a summary from Matt, and then we'll do a Q&A session at the end. You will see in the control panel there'll be a window where you can type any messages, and we'll pick those up at the end. So, why have we put on today's briefing? So, if like us, you're starting to see, as a result of the sort of gradual restrictions being lifted, that staff are returning to the office in greater numbers, you may be facing some challenges like we've seen if you've been sat at home working for the last year or so, happily talking out loud on video calls to people. You may be finding that doesn't always work in an open plan office, and everyone's been looking for headsets and so on. You may also face challenges of people meeting in rooms such as the one I'm in now, but also having to bring people into those meetings that are not in the office. So you've got a mixed kind of combination of people working from home and at work. And also, you know, what the last 12 months have shown us is that it's a good thing to be able to not have to drive several hours to a meeting, or sit on a train, or even jump on a plane. In some cases, meetings can be had remotely, which is great. But you know, in the case of the pandemic, it's been essential that organisations are able to operate from anywhere, and that's the theme of today, really, being able to operate seamlessly from anywhere. So I'll try and turn off my camera now and hand you over to Ben, our SME sales manager, and he's going to talk a little bit about why 8x8.
Lovely, thank you, Craig. So why 8x8 is an interesting topic with the amount of solutions that are out on the market, and why have we chosen to work with 8x8? As the telephony landscape's changed over the years, we've seen 8x8 adapt to that ever-changing environment. As you can see from the slide in front of you, 8x8 have been identified and named in the Gartner Report Magic Quadrant in the UC space as a market leader, and in the CC space as a market challenger multiple times. 8x8 constantly have and continue to innovate and lead in the marketplace. As we've seen other methods of communications rising, such as video collaboration, especially over the last 12 months, we've seen 8x8 actually rising to that challenge, incorporating these different methods into their platform. Telephony, video, analytics, open API integrations and CRMs. This investment into their own technology stack is a key to driving a complete solution. It's actually in 8x8's DNA to allow its users to work effectively from anywhere across both the UC and the CC on a worldwide scale. The flexibility offered then allows us as a business in Opus to cater to the needs of our customers, whether that be the office-based worker, traditionally home-based, or a hybrid of the two, which we feel are coming into the picture at the moment. Away from the endless feature set, the backbone behind any winning solution's reliability. 4 active data centers in the UK alone and a 99.99% uptime means that as a company and a vendor, we have the confidence to offer this as a complete solution to our customers. Opus as a company dedicated to offering the best service and solutions to our customers, and 8x8 continually fit with the values and the standards that we set out as a company. We're now going to move on to Graham at 8x8, who'll give us his thoughts on Opus.
Hi, my name is Graham Kedsley. I'm the Director of VAR and Distribution for 8x8 here in the UK. I'm really here today to talk about the relationship that Opus and 8x8 have shared over the last 4 to 5 years. Opus are one of our very, very high performing elite partners in the UK. As I said, we've been trading for around 4 to 5 years. the three things that I really think, Opus do and do really well, and why we're such a good fit as organisations, really boil down to as I said, three things. So firstly, the culture. So we share very similar cultures. Opus are a work hard, play hard business, high levels of professionalism, high response times, and when you see a partner that has those kind of core capabilities, it makes it very easy to do business with. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Opus were the real pioneers of our deployment and technical accreditation schemes, which we've been running for probably the last 18 months now. So they were one of the first to become fully certified to deliver 8x8 services technically, to support them, and also to sell them. Opus are an engineering-led business, and to see the dedication and commitment from the teams at Opus to really deliver our services in a professional manner was fantastic. And what we do see is the trend is really around, if you do commit to going through our accreditation program, the results will follow very, very quickly. So Opus are really set up well to deliver and support the 8x8 platform and services. The final piece was really around openness to do business with, and easy to do business with as well. So we have QBRs with Opus, and they're very kind of open around what's working, what's not. We have very frank conversations about what needs to change, but that is the best way to do business. And the O'Donnells from the top down, really promote that culture and ethos. So it's an absolute pleasure to do business with them, and I highly recommend them for any partnership work moving forward, particularly in the 8x8 space.
So thank you to Graham for that. I'll hand you over now to Chris Angus, Senior Director for Commercial Sales at 8x8, who's going to talk us through the Operate From Anywhere playbook. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Craig. Thank you very much. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to come and speak today. It's a great pleasure to come and talk to you, and thank you all for joining. So let's get started. So today we're going to walk through the playbook for becoming a digital leader. We are going to look and discuss how executive conversation is changing, from the work from anywhere, so to work from anywhere, from work from the office to work from home, now to work from anywhere. Second, we're going to look at what most organizations and where they stand today. Then we'll be showing you through what the majority of 2021 budget is going to look like, where they're being focused. No surprises, that's going to be on cloud communications and platforms. We'll move on to the end for a short playbook discussion. We're going to look at the benefits of cloud communications platform and how digital leaders are leveraging them to pull even further ahead of their peers. So let's get started. The change in the conversation. Now, as we've seen and experienced over the past several months, we've turned our offices, we've got our basements, our back bedrooms, all into home impromptu offices. Work from home is certainly not an end state, but it is a work in progress. That being said, things are evolving very, very quickly. Last year at this time, maybe even slightly before, beginning of March, only 3% of full-time employees worked remotely. Then the pandemic hit, and then more than 81% of us were forced to find a new way to work. Now, if your organization wasn't using cloud-based communications and collaboration tools before that, it's almost guaranteed that there would have been a mad dash to find something, to put it in place, to help you pivot in almost like a knee-jerk reaction. Now, as many of us have personally experienced, sometimes the mad dash and the immediate solution you put in place isn't always the best in the long run. So today, many organizations are dealing with fragmented experiences. IT leaders are now in talks, and the CEOs, CIOs, and CFOs, and the HR leaders about how they can move past these band-aid tools that we put in place to get us through the immediate problem that the pandemic caused us. And look at long-term technologies and how that's going to work in a fully remote or even this hybrid workforce. Looking ahead, the rest of 2021 and beyond, and looking at the budgets that we see they're being allocated, they're focused on two top priorities. Now, according to PwC, so PricewaterhouseCoopers, their CFO survey, Cloud and Platforms, and in an O'Reilly Cloud Adoption Survey, was half of organizations said they would now expect to move 75% or more of their applications to the cloud over the next year. And more than a fourth of organizations plan to move all of their business applications to the cloud, even the contact center, which, as most of us will know, has historically been operated in an on-premise, highly complex tools. Moving them to the cloud has been a big step for them. In 2029, Gartner predicted that by 2022, contact center as a service would be the preferred model of adoption for 50% of all contact centers. But the percentage has now dramatically changed and dramatically accelerated. In an informal survey conducted recently, 62% of the respondents said they believe far more than half of contact centers would be in the cloud by 2022. Now, the slide you can see in front of you, it's a very, very important quote. Conversations are now changing quickly from how do we make work from home work to how do we operate from anywhere? And not only that, but how do we set ourselves up to be more agile, more successful in the next normal? This quote from Deloitte's Business Recovery Report really captures why we need to change the conversation. In early 2020, we all did what we needed to do quickly to respond to COVID-19 and the need to work from at home. Now we need to move to recovery mode and acceleration mode, and where we can access what we need to and look to see what we're going to do for the long term. And then our organizations can be set up to thrive and prosper in these new working environments. Let's assess the current landscape. Let's start with this stat from the Forrester research. To be fair, it's quite frankly mind-blowing. It was featured in KPMG's 2020 CIO survey, and it estimates the additional spend organizations made for extra technologies related to security during the first 3 months of the pandemic. It added up to £11 billion each week. Now, for many organizations, this included buying things like Zoom for meeting, Slack for messaging, some other stopgap cloud contact center tool, and other related quick fixes. Now, unfortunately, these stopgap measures resulted in communications and collaboration silos when it comes to both the customer and the employee experience being completely fragmented and no joined up approach whatsoever. Next slide, Craig. Now, one thing we have seen about this next normal, new normal, and its adoption of the additional cloud technologies and the pandemic forcing people to transition quickly is that it's leveling the playing field somewhat. The SMEs are now able to adopt the same tools as large enterprises. So we talked about contact center being moved to the cloud. Sophisticated routing and contact center tools, or even integrated services, traditionally may have been reserved for the large enterprises, just from a cost perspective. Now we're seeing that this is leveling the playing field, allowing small businesses to access the exact same tools that the enterprises are. Now, Gartner projects a significant shift in the spending on UC, and from 5.6 billion to 7.1 over just a 2-year spend. You can see from the slide in front of you, the increase in spend is going to be significant. I think we firmly believe that's because the reach and the organization is able to access is far greater. So they're going to contribute more to this shift in the adoption rates. So the 5.6 to the 7.1 billion over the next 2 years is going to be because it's not just the enterprises spending money in these spaces, which is great for all of us. It means we can reach further and wider. And it also means that, I mentioned before, leveling the playing field, something which we're all keen to do. We're all keen to provide services to help everybody compete in a level playing field. So let's move on 2 more slides. let's think about the platform a little bit here. So the platform approach is the joined up infrastructure in your front of office and your back office. So this is your contact center, your consolidated IT tools, and your back off phone system, creating a platform of communications, allowing your internal businesses to communicate with one another whilst remaining connected to your customers. Now, relating to that, we're seeing IT leaders and the C-suite think more about the digital transformation as they align their 2021 budgets. There's a few things that are top of mind. Increasing productivity, which I think is obvious, through an improved, more unified employee and customer experience. That's really, really key. Any customer experience engagement things we're seeing is about combining all of the customers and all of the employees to create a much well-rounded experience, especially when you think about the leveling of the playing field, right? Because customer services is going to become much, much more important. Capturing data in a unified way, leveraging insights and improving how you capture data to how you can make informed business decisions. Improving security, which has never been more important as we operate with a disbanded workforce. I personally have teams all around the country. Actually, we have teams in Barcelona as well, all trying to operate from anywhere, accessing the same tools. So security is super, super important. And I guess when it comes to the bottom line, that's what governs most business decisions. We want to increase the revenue whilst reducing costs. Now, those two things typically can be disbanded, but what we're seeing now is they're coming hand in hand. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, this is why platforms, especially in the communication and collaboration, are one of the fastest growing tech investments. With one solution, or at least greatly consolidated solutions, IT leaders, the CIOs, and organizations can address their needs for the improved and more unified customer and employee engagement portfolio, the single source of data and analytics, and then security. Now, with far fewer solutions to try and manage and far points of entry, much easier to manage that single sign-on approach. And then the increased revenue and cost savings. By consolidating the vendors, you're able to reduce the number of the amount of bills going out, get a much more bang for your buck, if you like. And then with key business applications and integrations, a much better experience all round. I'll give you a few seconds to read this quote, but again, it comes from the 2020 KPMG survey, where analysts see the best opportunity for fast-acting digital leaders to move more further forward into the future. The key point there is being able to thrive. Being able to thrive. We've applied the band-aid. You know, we've pivoted real quickly to the changing needs of our organizations, you know, thrust upon us by what's going on in the world. And now it's about thriving. How do we then transition that into growth? Let's move forward. So let's look at the benefits. What are the benefits of a unified comms platform? What do they translate to? The keynote for this is to operate from anywhere with cloud benefits. You can break these down really into three core buckets: cost, strategic, and then business process. Now, I won't read the slide verbatim. I'll allow you guys to read through that as we go through. But I do want to emphasize the finding of Nemertus research shown here. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Nemertus, they're a global advisory firm that analyze business value of emerging technologies. Their research on unified communications shows that a single vendor approach results in 56% lower total cost of ownership. So more than 50% reduction in costs, as well as a 57% increase in customer satisfaction. When you incorporate the corporate office, the front of house contact center, and you have to use the same communication and collaboration solutions, you can improve experience and lower your costs. So improving experience means your retention rates are going to be far higher, but your baseline costs are also are lower. So the benefits of the business are immeasurable in some cases. We want to move forward to the next slide to talk about I want to highlight a real current and modern example that most of us have seen over the last 12 to 13 months, which is Microsoft Teams. The consolidated approach of Microsoft Teams and their approach to communications it really encapsulates what we're trying to say here. April last year, the Microsoft CEO said that the daily active users grew to 145 million versus 32 million pre-pandemic. And the number of businesses with over 1,000 Teams users grew threefold. So that's a real good litmus test for how much these cloud consolidated platforms have grown over the last 12 months. With a cheap plug from 8x8, we have an integrated service to Microsoft Teams. And it operates in a really nice way. So we have a direct routing solution for you to be able to make and receive PSTN calls using your Teams interface. It's a native Teams experience with enterprise-grade technology plus contact center capabilities. One of the only vendors to be certified by Microsoft for the integrated contact center into Teams. You get the full set of enterprise telephony capabilities that include full PSTN calling for Teams, knowledge workers, contact center agents to make and receive calls from fixed lines and mobiles, unlimited calling plans to 47 countries, plus PSTN replacement in 42 countries, out-of-the-box native integrations with 25 or more business apps for Teams calling integration. End-to-end analytics, which we talked about capturing data to allow you to make business decisions. So end-to-end analytics for 8x8 initiated by both Teams and non-Teams members. So you could employ 8x8 services for all of your staff or just the ones using Teams. You can get end-to-end analytics regardless of how you deploy that. Industry-leading uptime and availability. Okay. Teams users have a constant experience. So most people are used to using them. Most people are using Teams, are used to using Teams, and they remain using that as their core line of business interface. That means there's no need for additional training, no change to their user experience. You just get the added benefit of the direct routing that 8x8 can power behind the Teams interface. So users continue to make and receive calls to the PSTN from their Teams interface. Now, from the IT admin perspective, implementing 8x8 and Voice for Teams is really effortless. You have a simple admin interface that allows IT admins to use Teams users and to use 8x8's voice network. There's no end user software to download or manage. And as soon as IT has provisioned users to the admin panel, those users can start using the system to make and receive calls. Let's move on from Teams. I want to draw even further into the contact center benefits. You'll notice here that I use a lot of research and statistics to try and prove the point. So if anyone who doesn't enjoy the statistics and research, I'm sorry. But Aberdeen research shows that unified communications enabled contact centers see a 2.9x average improvement in case handling time year over year, an 80% decrease in customer complaints, and a 50% increase in agent productivity. When you join your employee and your customer experiences, make them aligned and more optimized, this is where we start to see the really big impact happen. Okay, so this points to some of the points we're raising earlier on, and the statistics back this up. I want to move on to talk about a really nice example of how we've done this and how Gamma and 8x8 have done. Sorry, how 8x8 and Opus have done this with Gamma Aviation. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gamma Aviation, they're a global private aviation business. They provide pilots and maintenance services across all major hubs around the world, from Farnborough, Hampshire in the UK, right to the UAE. By nature, they're globally dispersed and very forward thinking actually, and they work in a really agile environment, which meant traditional telecoms just really wouldn't work for them. It was rigid, it was cumbersome and cost prohibitive, which is why they reached out to Opus to explore other opportunities. They were able to adopt the soft phone capabilities, also the mobile capabilities of 8x8, powered by the Opus relationship and the deployment and management services that Graham spoke about in this video earlier on today. And then from the IT and administrative perspective, they were able to consolidate their vendors into one central global management portal. And bearing in mind, as an aviation company, they have people all over the world. And for their IT guys to be able to manage everybody from one interface, from one office, it saves so many hours, which you can translate into user pounds. Due to the 8x8's global footprint, the patented geo-routing technologies, they saved incredible sums of money just by upgrading their services. So typically we may associate upgrades with more expense. But in this instance, because we're able to cut all their operating costs, they saved money and got a future-proof solution by working with Opus and 8x8. So with that, I'm gonna hand back now to the Opus team to summarize what we've discussed today and bring us to a close.
Thanks, Chris. Over to you, Matt.
Thank you, Chris, for the insight. I wanted to really talk through some of the key points from this morning's session. And following this, I think we've got some, well, I hope we've got some questions. It's fair to say the speed of development and change is like nothing we've seen before. The majority of you, if not all of you, effectively migrated staff to working from home during the pandemic. What we're now seeing, though, is businesses look at their strategic requirement as they facilitate a hybrid working model going forward. And as Chris mentioned, removing any band-aid technologies and replacing them with scalable, agile cloud services. If you look at some of the Opus's contact center clients as an example, we were able to move thousands of contact center users to working from home and in that remote manner without challenges with their day-to-day job. And I say that as taking and receiving calls. That being said, what we have seen is that time is being lost as they search for knowledge, which has certainly impacted their efficiencies. Cloud services in general have been key in providing businesses with secure, compliant technology while delivering upon the customer experience and the business outcomes they are looking to achieve. Technology needs to be able to support the new hybrid world. It may seem obvious, but a lot of businesses have been able to deliver home working, but there is certainly a difference between permanent home working and providing a flexible, agile solution that can facilitate working from anywhere. So in essence, the hybrid model that Chris mentioned earlier. When looking at that UC and contact center space, and when thinking about operating from anywhere, there really won't be a better solution stack than 8x8. Their real unique proposition is providing clients the ability to work from anywhere globally, facilitated from that one platform, as we talked about earlier with Gamma Aviation as an example. And that's all while leveraging native integrations to common applications such as Teams. There are many technology vendors out there that enable remote working, but actually in reality, very few of them are doing it very well. You need the correct technology vendor and the correct partner, such as Opus, that really understand the different technologies and those integrations, so they can be knitted together effectively, meaning you deliver upon the business outcomes you are looking to achieve. What we're certainly seeing across pretty much all industries is businesses looking to understand what hybrid working will look like going forward. And I think it's fair to say from the conversations we're having, it will really differ drastically from one business to another. As companies move back into the office, in whatever function that might be, thoughts need to go into what hardware is being leveraged in places like meeting rooms, and how that integrates with your collaboration technology of choice in order to deliver an effective experience. All of our staff have benefited from such collaboration tools at home over this past year, and there will be an expectation from the top down and certainly the bottom up that we're able to leverage these tools effectively in that new hybrid workplace. So for me, the biggest takeaways and areas of thought that I would urge you all to really look into are: does your communication stack and wider applications allow you to access them effectively from anywhere without intervention? And do you have the hardware in your offices to provide the end user experience to collaborate effectively? So the example I'd give there is meeting room systems integrated seamlessly to the collaboration tool of choice. And I think finally, finding a partner that has those proven skills in the UC and contact center space, along with knowledge of those peripheral services, which we see as key to delivering upon specific business outcomes. Opus and 8x8 are having these conversations every single day. And if you'd like any insight and a bit more understanding of what other similar businesses to yourselves are doing, please feel free to reach out to any of the account managers that you're engaged with. So I think that's probably it from me. I'll probably look to hand back to Craig now, and hopefully, as I said earlier, we've got some questions that we can field for everyone.
Sorry, I've just changed the settings so you can see them in the panel. Apologies. I'll pop, if guys, you want to pop your webcams back on, and I'll stop sharing the screen if this will work smoothly. That'd be great. Sharing for a second. I've got a couple of questions coming in, so let's have a look at those. Oh, spinning wheel of joy. There we go. What does CCaaS, is that the right acronym, stand for?
That's one for you, Craig, isn't it?
Even I know that. Contact as a service, but maybe you can expand on that, one of you guys.
I'm happy to give our interpretation, and Matt, if you want to pick up anything I missed at all. So, effectively, we mentioned before around contact center being traditionally on-premise based solutions. So, as a service means it can operate as a license-based model, much more traditional contact centers where something should bolt to the wall, almost out of date as the second you installed it. But CCaaS, so as a service model, allows you to get license-based, subscription-based models to have constant upgrades, constant evolution, and access to all of the modern and forefront of technology within the contact center space. And the reason why that's wonderfully important is because traditionally it was something which you would bolt to the wall, was wonderfully expensive and went out of date pretty quickly and very difficult to upgrade. The way we do things today is much like how I think all of us consume information, and we consume stuff in our personal lives. Think about Netflix, Amazon, that kind of stuff. It's all a subscription model which upgrades and updates alongside our license fee. That's translated into the most complex of communication platforms, which is the contact center.
All right, and there's another question follows on from that. It says, we operate a small advice line with only 1 or 2 staff on every session. The staff on the line change every day. We individually divert the line to our own phones. Can you tell me whether this system will actually benefit us?
I think it's fair to say that probably to extend and talk around what Chris did, the as a service model certainly facilitates that, whereas perhaps in the past with traditional or legacy infrastructure and technology, it probably would have been cost prohibitive. But in the current model and being able to take that on a license base, I think it would be fair to say that it would be something that you could consume, and we would certainly urge you to reach out so we could understand what you're trying to achieve in a bit more detail. and see whether it's a technology that we would recommend.
Ali, I think we'll follow up with you afterwards on that one and give you a bit more detail, but I'm sure there's some benefits we can offer there. There's another one saying, how quickly can you integrate Microsoft Teams into the 8x8 solution?
Well, the engineering and implementation teams might kill me for this, but easy. Do it tomorrow. No, I mentioned before in my presentation that it really is effortless. When we talk about native and off-the-shelf integrations, means we built all of the frameworks through the APIs to allow us to plug these things fairly simply and fairly straightforward. 8x8 and Opus, we employ Microsoft specialists to ensure that we can understand the way your Microsoft solution works, make sure your team solution works, and plug those in. So it's something which we do on a very, very regular basis. As you can imagine, it's one of the primary go-to markets for most people in our space at the moment. So it's something which we can do simply and easily. And it's Matt mentioned being cost prohibitive. It's one of those things that we've deliberately made that it's a very, very low barrier to entry, so that you shouldn't even consider those things. So if you're interested in it, I would suggest you reach out to Matt and Ben and their teams, or whoever your associate account manager is at Opus, to explore those options, because we can make it happen as part of the course. Really, it's a very, very simple solution to deploy.
Okay, and there's one other question that says, do you need to roll? I think what the question is getting to is can you roll out to 8x8 cloud services piece by piece, or is it all in one go? To paraphrase, so apologies.
Yeah, I think a really good example, I suppose, there is actually to call on the Gamma example, because you had, I think it's 24 or 25 different locations. We actually did that very much in a phased migration, and there was huge benefits to that, because as you can imagine, with all of the numbering globally, that poses certain risks, should I say, and we wanted to make sure that was de-risked as much as we could, and therefore we very much made a choice to phase that migration. And I think in a lot of cases, a phased migration will be a recommendation that we put forward, and really from our perspective, we'd be keen just to understand really the business before we make a recommendation about the deployment method, I think.
I think that, and with the previous question, it's best to book a discovery session and we find out exactly what's needed. So hopefully that answers, but we will follow up with you afterwards. So one other question come in: does the 8x8 platform cost per user license or as an overall cost?
Yeah,
so it's a user. Sorry, Matt, go on. I'll point to you.
No, it's your baby. I'll pass that one to you.
It's a license-based model, so it's a user-based model. One of the key differentiators between us and other vendors operating in a similar fashion is you can a la carte your menu choices, or who needs what. So to Matt's point about being phased rollouts and things like that, you're not necessarily governed by one license for every user. So you can really do an as-is analysis and do some chair sides with Ben and Matt and the team over Opus to work out which users need which tools. You can have some really simple, basic front of house users you just make and receive internal calls, or you can have people that just make calls into the UK, right through to people that are fielding hundreds of calls on a daily basis that need access to chat and omni-channel, that kind of stuff. And you can tailor those licenses per that that brand of user, basically. So something which is really keen to consider, because it means you're not stuck by having to pay the top end licenses for every single user just because a fraction of your workforce needs the most sophistication. So you can really chop and change how that works, but it's on a user model, and then you can upgrade seamlessly. So you can phase rollouts, you can start with one version of the software, one version of the platform, and then as your requirements change, or once you get under your feet under the table and you've rolled those out and the adoption's increased internally, you can then upgrade those licenses to bring in extra features, extra benefits, or extra global destinations, depending on what your business requires.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris.
I would have. So I'm glad that I asked him to field it.
It's the one question 8x8 we've written on our hand all the time, basically. So yeah.
There's one other question. Does the chat option link from websites too?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways to do the chat. There's a number of ways. So you think about contact center, and you think about we've all gone on, let's use like, I don't know, like Sky or BT or your whoever provides your cable or television network. You go online and it forces you to take a chat option rather than ringing the help desk, right? Much more economical way of filtering service calls. Absolutely, we do it ourselves. So you can link your contact center chat engines to agents for using that method. So that's one way. So yes, you can link it to your website. We also have a really cute way of linking other chat engines. So we talked about deploying the likes of Slack as a stopgap chat option earlier on in the presentation. You may have other parts of the organization that are not telephony based who require chat services, and they might be using other services which you don't necessarily, maybe in contract and you can't displace them. We have a way of linking those things together. So you can use an 8x8 chat and maybe a Slack chat, which is two separate technologies that still haven't talked to one another. So there's multiple ways you can deploy the chat from a customer into your organization, but also the intra communications between teams. So effectively joining the front of house, people at the front to the experts who might use other services to manage their day-to-day.
All right, thank you. I'm conscious of the time. There's just one more slide to close on. So it doesn't appear to be any more questions coming in. So I'll try and share again and just close off and thank everybody for attending. So let's try if this works. Q&A. Hopefully you can see that. So just to sort of next steps and resources. So thank you everybody for bearing with us during the technical issues. What you didn't see here is that we also had window cleaning going on, and a guy with a 50-foot pole bashing against the window here, which was causing us some nerves, but he seems to have moved on. We will be sending out a tidied up version of the recording if you want to share it with any of your colleagues, and a copy of the slides. In that slide that you'll see some links through to an Operate From Anywhere ebook and a couple of articles that might be useful. But if we'll follow up on the people that ask questions. But if you do want to know anything more and want to book a consultation with us, the best way, we need to find out what it is you're trying to achieve, and then we can help you, advise how we can help you in the best way with that. So I advise you to book a consultation. Just find out what the art of the possible is, and then we can help you. But thank you very much for attending today and staying with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thanks everyone.